Careful, Coco, your friend here.
She's like, what? Look, look.
She said, Coco, I have a friend. Hey, when? 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 Who's hosting? Who's hosting?
Good morning, beloveds. I am so glad you decided to be with us this morning. I am happy to be here. I'm happy to be a part of the Pride celebration that's going on. And I'm going to invite you today to see the good in being together in community, to make that choice that we are in this together. I want you to look around the room and see somebody who's smiling back at you right now, just knowing they are glad to see you this morning. And online, I want you to know that you are receiving this message at the absolute perfect time. So there's some stuff going on at CSL Visalia, and I invite you right now to take a listen to what Donna has to say about what's going on at CSL Visalia.
Good morning, everybody. It's gorgeous today, yes? All right, we got to appreciate today. It was wonderful. Let's Talk Science of Mind was wonderful today. Gwen gave a beautiful discussion, a beautiful talk. All the practitioner in training have been doing talks, and Gwen's was great today, so thank you. In fact, I think she should be one of our speakers sometime soon. Yes, people are agreeing.
Yes, Gwen. Oh, yes.
So I wanted to show you some pictures from our Juneteenth celebration. So for the last 2 years, we've been doing it here. But this year, the city of Visalia decided to do their first Juneteenth. We collaborated with them over at the Whitendale Community Center. These were the drums that were there that Buddy brought. They were just so gorgeous by themselves. And you can see on the slide there, we did a little slideshow about Edmund Weisinger, talk about him, the black former slave who integrated schools in California. So take a minute. There we are. There's our team at our table, showing the little coloring thing that on the back table of all the African Americans who invented things that we just take for granted, like the toilet. And yeah, look at the sheet on the back and color it in if you want. But it was great. There's Buddy with his drums, and he was the MC, and he was perfect. He was wonderful. And people there were so excited and so thrilled about celebrating Juneteenth. So the city got all these pictures of famous black people. I didn't know half of them. There's another slide of them. Obama's there. James Baldwin. A lot of people I've heard of, and a lot of people I've never heard of. So it'd be interesting to see what they are. And then they also put this up, which sort of gives you the theme of, or how Juneteenth started. So it started in Texas, where 2.5 years after emancipation, they finally found out that they were free. And as the people started moving different places, then the idea came out and got further and further. And now it's a national holiday, no mail yesterday, all kinds of things. So it's sort of exciting. Here we had Karen, who sang for one of our Juneteenths. She's amazing. And she led everybody in the black, I guess it's called the Black National Anthem. Interesting. And then we had a Native American. Instead of doing the north, south, east, west that we've had Tino do, she just did a thing with a drum and sort of a chant that was a welcoming thing. And then the drumming. This woman must be part of the group because she was dancing, she was giving everybody things to drum with and to rattle and a thing, and the drumming was super. People loved it, and there she goes. She was something else. So I think that's the last one on that, right? Oh, there's one more. Then there lots of activities for kids. So the city, it's a Parks and Rec department who put it on, and so they made sure there were lots of things for the kids to do, and a few of them colored our coloring thing about all the history people that made important things that we expect to live with today. So it was a great event, and I'm glad those of you who were there, because everybody, I think you could tell, it was energized. So our baby contest is ongoing. I don't think we have any goodies today to share with people, but these are our babies, and they'll be, through August, they will be doing fundraisers. And so we want everybody to participate. Bring your bring your $5, $10 bills. And when things happen, then donate to it. Whichever baby earns the most money through this 3-month period will be our mascot for the year. And we put him in the newsletter. There's a picture of our current baby on the wall back there. So we'll continue doing great things like that, and it's so fun that we have a bird this year, Kismet. Okay, and we're going to have a meeting after the service today on ideas for summer events. These are some of the things that have come up that we've discussed. A spa day. Doesn't have to be just for women. It could be, maybe we can get a chair massage person here. Craft nights, Lori is planning to do some craft nights. We're talking about a book club. So Bonnie is working on a book club. Movie nights, either here or maybe at the Kinshoes if you want to host us again sometime. There's a sign up on the back. So let us know what kind of movies you would like to watch. Whoops, okay, Donna's just talking over there. And karaoke night is set. So that's a fundraiser for Donna W's Peanut Butter Baby. And that's July 19th here. And then maybe you'll have other ideas. So if you can stay a few minutes afterwards, we'll meet in the library and we'll just talk ideas and see what else we can do. Some of them are fundraisers, some of them are some are fundraisers, some are fundraisers just to do things together. So we hope to have you here. And now I will turn it over to Stan.
Thank you, Donna. Good morning, everyone. So it's time to read our mission statement. And here we go. Read with me. Center for Spiritual Living Visalia is the place where everyone comes together, connecting in love and learning how to create abundant, joyful, and peaceful lives. I think that was it. Okay. And we're going to do the first song, Walking on Sunshine.
Used to think maybe you love me, now baby I'm sure. And I just can't wait till the day when you walk on my door. Now every time I go for the mailbox, I hold myself down. 'Cause I just can't wait till you write me you're coming around. I'm walking on sunshine, wow. I'm walking on sunshine, wow. I'm walking on sunshine, wow. And don't it feel good? All right now, and don't it feel good? Used to think maybe you love me, now I know it's true. And I don't want to spend my whole life just waiting for you. Now I don't want you back for the weekend, no, not for a day. No, no, no. Said, baby, I want I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa, I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa, I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa, and don't it feel good? Yeah. Oh, right now, and don't it feel good? Yeah. Oh, baby, and don't it feel good? And don't it feel good?
Thank you. I'm feeling good now. Thank you, Kevin and Dawn and Hope. Appreciate it. Beautiful. All right, that's a nice way to start the morning. Okay. All right, we're going to, let's see, we have 14 what we believe statements, science of mind statements, and we're going to read one of them right now. Please read with me what we believe. We believe in the unity of all life and that the highest God and the innermost God are one God. And I think that's it. Okay. And now we have the diversity quote by Carol.
Good morning. I have this wonderful quote that Gwen invited me to share with all of you today. So the quote is from Ernest Holmes, and it's from a publication entitled Words That Heal Today, which is a publication I have not seen. So it's one to track down. This is what Ernest said. A divine pattern is hidden in everything. There is a unifying presence and law at the center of everyone and everything. A unity that binds all together in one common source, one living spirit, one divine presence. Each is a unique manifestation of the one.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, I'd like everyone to stand now, and let's sing the congregational song, I Start My Day.
Start my day with love. When I start my day with love, that's what I get more of, is love. I start my day with love. When I start my day with love, that's what I get more of, is love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. I start my day with peace. When I start my day with peace, I feel the sweet release of peace. I start my day with peace. When I start my day with peace, I feel the sweet release of peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. I start my day with joy. When I start my day with joy, everything I do is infused with joy. joy, 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 joy. I start my day with love when I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy and I feel that sweet release. I start my day with love when I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy and I feel the sweet release. Love, love, love. Peace, peace, peace. Joy, joy, joy. Love, love, love.
All right. Thank you so much. I hope you're taking something away from the lyrics to the songs that we sang today. I'm going to invite you to notice something. Whatever thoughts or attitudes you came in the door with today, I think they've kind of dissipated. Am I not right? You know, they've kind of gone away a little bit, and we're reminded, okay, even though there's all that going on in the world out there, this is a safe sanctuary. This is a place where I can come and be my authentic self. This is a place where I can be and realize we're in this together. So I want to take you back in time. I want to take you back to August of 1971. Now, I'm going to get a little personal in what my journey was, but I'm reminded that that year and that time was very similar to the time that we're in. I had graduated from high school in May 28th of 1971, and there was a draft going on in the United States. And one of the things that I knew in my heart of hearts is that I did not want to be drafted and I did not want to go fight in the Vietnam War. But I wasn't strong enough in my personality yet to really be able to identify what I would have to do about that. You know, because I graduated from high school at 17. And so it was one of those things where I was still trying to understand how this world worked. And I knew that I grew up not in a military family, but I had an uncle that had fought in World War II, had served in the Battle of the Bulge, and was just revered for being a veteran and being a part of the military. And so if it ever came up, you know, it was certainly, if you get that draft number, if you get called, you're going to go and serve just like your Uncle Rollin. And my brother was in the ROTC a few years earlier when he was in college and seemed to enjoy it. But there was just something in my nature that, you know, I was a pacifist, but I didn't know what words to put to that. So I thought I'd be clever and get enrolled in college as quickly as possible. Because one of the things I come to understand about that time, that if you were a college student, you could get a deferment and not have to go if your number was pulled up. And so, you know, I had my plan in action. So I graduated from high school on May 28th, and I was registered and started school at Indiana State University on June 4th. I went to summer school. I started right away so that I would be in it to be able to apply for that deferment if it come up, just so I wouldn't have to face the question. Would I go? What would I do? And I thought my plan was working. And so I had my 10 weeks of summer school, and I went home for that first break. And one of the things that I came up while I was at home, my mom on the way home said, "Oh, there's a letter waiting for you from Indiana State University." And I said, oh, okay, great, I'll check it out when I got home. So when I got home, I opened this letter and said that the day for registration in 1971 for the fall semester, the first day of registration would be August 20th. And so I thought, okay, I need to be back on campus by August 20th, and we'll do the thing. And then it said, however, until your lottery number has been pulled, you will not be eligible to register. In fact, if you drew a number from 1 to 180, now remember the lottery at that time had 366 days in it. And so the lottery would draw a number, and the first 180 days drawn, the first birthdays drawn out of 180 days were 90% likely to be called up to go to war. And so Indiana State made the provision that when your birthday was drawn in the lottery, if it fell within 1 to 180, you would not be eligible to register for school that fall. To add to the drama of the day that the numbers were drawn was that first day of registration. So what that meant in my family is we had to make the drive from Winchester, Indiana to Terre Haute, Indiana, where Indiana State University was located. And before we could go to the campus, we went to the local television station who put that UPI ticker tape thing in the window, and we could watch the numbers being pulled in the lottery. My parents and I stood looking at this teletype machine along with other families that were there for the same reason, waiting for those numbers to be pulled to see if we'd even get to register for school that fall. That was a traumatic experience, and I'm standing there with, my mind racing. What will I do if my number comes up? Because I knew that I wasn't going to go fight in the Vietnam War. I was against the war. I didn't believe what it stood for. Would it mean that I would declare that I was gay so that I would be labeled as 4F and deal with the consequences for the rest of my life that would bring up? Would I be looking at that group of people on campus that I had met that summer that talked about going to Canada and escaping? All of this mind chatter is going on in my brain because what had happened between June 4th and that August 20th date was on July 15th, I had turned 18, so I was eligible for the draft. Now, I'm there, and all I knew that I could do was pray. And I prayed, sometimes when we pray in an immature way. Sometimes when we pray that God will create a definitive outcome, and not as what for the highest and best for all, not what God may want, but what I, in my own selfish way, my own feeling, my own fear, my own thing, I prayed for a very specific outcome that day. And so we watched the numbers. We watched the numbers. We watched the numbers. And then finally, at one point, the first 180 numbers had been pulled. And my birthday of July 15th was not among them. And so once those 180 numbers were kind of pulled, people started to walk away from the window because they knew what they knew or what they could do, and they went onto the campus to register. But for whatever reason, we stayed, and we watched, and we watched, and we watched. My birthday of July 15th was the 366th number pulled. It was the very last number pulled. And I thought when I walked away from that, I'll never be able to pray for anything again. God has granted me this prayer, granted me this past, granted me this opportunity. In my life, I will never be able to walk away or pray for anything else because I got that one passed. Now, by the time that I turned a sophomore, the Vietnam era, that war was coming to an end and less people were being drafted. And, we got to realize it, but we still participated. We still had the opportunity to participate in the protest, to participate in what we thought. And of course, that's all about what college is about on a social level, is learning that. And it's kind of what I wanted to bring up. That answered prayer allowed me to really define my values for the first time in my life, to know who I am as a human being for the first time in my life. And it was the first time that I chose to be who I felt that I was, who I identified with, other than not taking on what was prescribed to me by other people to say who I was at that time. It was a time of emancipation. It was a time of me becoming aware. And it was also the first time in my life that I started to find like-minded people. It was the first time in my life when I got to go see what different groups were about on campus. Because when you go to any college campus, there's any kind of group that could possibly exists there. And you can go and sit in and visit and go, ooh, this is not the group for me. Get up, walk out, move on to the next group. And of course, I found the Gay Student Union at Indiana State University. And I found those folks, and it was like, I was surprised because I was dumbfounded that there would be 100 people in this group. And when I thought probably I and 2 or 3 other people were the only gay people on the planet. And at that time, at that immaturity where I was in my life. And so to suddenly see that there was a larger group of people there, I started to take on some of the identifying values that I could relate to. And one of the things that I learned by being a part of the Gay Student Union at Indiana State University, I learned this idea that we're all in it together as a community. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you might have an argument with one other person in the community. You may have a falling out with somebody in the community. You may have a vast different disagreement with them. Maybe even make a pledge to never speak to them again. However, if the community was attacked, then everybody came together as one cohesive group to stand up against the injustice that was being perpetrated on somebody else. And so we would come together as a community and stand up for someone that might have been fired from their job because of who they loved. Or the one time there was a local club bar owner in the town, when the liquor company realized that it was a gay community there within the community, he suddenly stopped selling liquor to that bar because he found it so offensive. And that caused threatening situations around that bartender, and other people in the town wanted to burn that bar down once they knew the kind of people that were hanging out there. Well, this whole student union, this whole group of people came together and provided the security around that bar, honoring the fact that the risk that that bartender had taken to be open to even be doing what they were doing in the day. We became the advocates for those who stood up for our community. And it was a glorious thing to see. I learned everything I would come to know in life about inclusion while living at Indiana State University during my 4 years of college. And what I want you to know and what I want you to realize that existed at a time like that, there were protocols that had to be honored. And those protocols that had to be honored was respect for those who had come before us. So what does that mean? Well, that means, of course, as all young college students would be at the time, you may go out to the club, the one club in Terre Haute, Indiana, Monday through Friday, but come Saturday night, we were all going to Indianapolis, and we were going to the big clubs that were in Indianapolis. But even if you did that, there was a protocol that you were taught that had to happen in a certain way. There were 2 restaurants in Indianapolis that supported the LGBTQ plus community. So you went there first before dinner. You supported the risk that that restaurant owner had taken in order to provide a safe sanctuary for the LGBTQ plus community. And so you would go, you would pay your respect, you would buy your dinner, you would hang out with friends, and you would support that restaurateur. Then you were expected to go to the first show at the famous door. Now, what was the famous door? The famous door was a drag bar that had opened in 1925. 1925. It was the first LGBT, what would later be called an LGBTQ plus club in Indianapolis that opened in 1925. And so we were taught that in order to respect and honor those people that had gone before us, we had to go and attend the first show at that club. Now, it was easy for me to say, well, I'm not really kind of into that, but that's not my thing. I don't really want to do that. You didn't get to skip it. You went and you watched the performers who were pretending to be Barbra Streisand, Judy Garland, Peggy Lee, whoever they might have been, and you applaud the first show. And then after the first show was done, you were allowed and permitted in the community to go to the disco and dance to Elton John or whatever the music of the day would be. But you better never show up at the disco without having been seen at the other 2 places first. What did that teach us? That taught us the value of community. It taught us the value of, if you want somebody to have your back, you got to be willing to have somebody else's back. Now, the other thing that was on the campus at that time and was just starting to have a movement was a church called the MCC, the Metropolitan Community Church. And for those of us that were spiritually inclined, that wanted to find that balance of how do I incorporate my spiritual journey with this journey of who I identify with, it was through Troy Perry and the Metropolitan Community Church. In fact, in the 1970s and the early 1980s, there were more people within the LGBTQ plus community that identified with being members of the MCC than any other organization in the country. And so we got to learn how, it wasn't until 1946 that the word homosexual was ever written into the Bible. We got to learn that the story of Sodom and Gomorrah was really about, learning about power and the power dynamics and taking advantage of people. It wasn't about loving relationship. We really got to understand what we would call in our faith tradition, how the world got to be the way that it is. And so now I am standing on all of this legacy, all of this history, all of this understanding. And day by day by day, I am becoming more of who I am authentically in the world. I can be gay. I can love who I want. I can still be a man of God. I can still go out there in the world and answer my calling to be a teacher. Click, 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 click. Things are working. And I'm feeling the freedom of what it is to be emancipated. And so I moved to San Francisco when I'm 24 years old. And I get to meet other people, people of color from other places in the world. I get to really understand that every ethnicity is a part of the LGBTQ plus community. And it was truly a tapestry of beauty and love that we were experiencing in the late 70s and early 80s in San Francisco. And it was really a time when that rainbow flag really represented diversity that existed within the community. Now, that's not to say there wasn't some shenanigans going on. There wasn't some white privilege being demonstrated. But once I became aware of it, I knew that I was called to do something about it. Because, see, back in Indiana, we were all in this together. Everyone represented by the LGBTQ plus community, we were in it shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand together, standing up for justice. But when I came to San Francisco, I learned that if I went to 18th and Castro in San Francisco and wanted to go into the Badlands, I walked in the door, nodded at the bouncer on the door, and went right in and was able to get my drink. But my boyfriend at the time, who was ethnic Chinese from Indonesia, suddenly had to have 7 pieces of identification to get in the door. If I were to go and dance at a club called the I-Beam on the Haight Ashbury, my friend Cynthia couldn't go with me because at that club, only men got in. And suddenly it was like, wait a minute, what is this? Segregate? No, that's not who I am. And so suddenly I had to fight for this injustice. And I had to look at where my dollars were being, spent and what I was doing for it. And then the AIDS pandemic hit. Now, here's the thing that I want you to know about LGBTQ. We had an amazing discussion about this in our Let's Talk Science and Wine class this morning. Gwen did a wonderful presentation that I hope you will go to the website and watch about it, where she really talks about the history, the LGBT, the acronyms that are used. But what I want you to know, in the late 70s and early 80s, it was GLBT. The gay was first. But when my brothers were starting to die of HIV and AIDS during the 1980s and the early 90s, the lesbian community became our caretakers. They were the ones who were not afraid to touch us. They were the ones that would give us our medication. They were the ones that came and visited us. As I said in many of my talks, they were the demonstration of Matthew 25. We were sick and they cared for us. We were isolated and they visited us. They were our advocates and they visited us. Many people don't realize that even at that time, those that were imprisoned, if you were imprisoned with HIV, you were assigned to Vacaville State Prison. Vacaville State Prison was the AIDS prison in the state of California. And only our co-conspirators, only our advocates that really cared about the principle of Matthew 25 went to visit any of those folks that were incarcerated at Vacaville. And out of respect, out of the growth of that fight, of that plight, the L moved to the beginning of the demonstration because of how the women stood up for us during the worst time in our existence. So I say all this today to really offer this community. We are in this together. And if you are hanging with a tribe that is not a reflection of who you know yourself to be in your heart and soul, it's time to find a new community. It's time to move on. But if you find yourself surrounded by people who see you for who you are and authentically celebrate you, then you're in the right place. You can look around the room right here, right now, and go, this is a safe place for me to be, and I celebrate it. And so when people ask you, why do you choose CSL Visalia? Because it's a safe place for me to be authentically who I am in life. And what you think about me, as Terry Cole Whitaker would say, is none of my business. But I am going to make sure that I am only surrounded by people that have their hand at my back and stand shoulder to shoulder with me. The call for Pride Month is for us to really take a look at who in my life is my ally. Who supports me? Who acts like they're genuinely glad to see me whenever I walk in the room? And then we got to look at the reverse of that. Who am I an ally for? Who am I supporting? Even though I might disagree here and there, who am I supporting? I support you and being you. That can be as easy as, my best friend wants to be in the choir because they can sing. Now, I could be envious of that because I cannot sing and therefore not support them. Or I can be their ally and support them in doing what it is that they love and feeling good when they have a victory, when they win, when they nail a song, or when they have an experience that they lift up. That's being an ally. Who am I an advocate for? And who are my advocates? Who is that person that you want to pick up the phone and call to say, can you help me do the thing? But before you even dial the number, they're calling you and saying, hey, I know you have this thing to do. How about if I come over and help you do it? Let me take you to that doctor's appointment. Let me go with you because I know you're going to be overwhelmed. You're not going to hear all the things that the doctor says. I'll go, I'll pay attention, and then we're in this together. I'll be your advocate for this. You want to go to that No Kings March next week? Okay. I wasn't going to go, but if you want to go, I'll go with you. I'll drive because I know you don't drive. We'll get there together. We'll be an advocate. We'll go stand up for something bigger than us. Who are your co-conspirators? Who is that person that you would make the phone call with to if you were, say, wrongly incarcerated and suddenly you were in jail and needed to be bailed out? Who would you call? Who is going to be there to bail you out? And who would you be willing to bail out? What would it take? How would your values have to align? So here's the homework for the week. Since we are all in this together, I want you to really reflect on who are my allies and who am I an ally for? They don't have to be the same people. There are times, and any of you that have ever been a teacher know that you're the one called to be the teacher, not the best friend of the student. So it's an easy differential to look at. So Who are you called to be an ally for? And who are your allies? And if you don't know who your allies are, look around the room right now and write down 2 or 3 names that are in the room with you, because those are your allies. And then who are you an advocate for? Who are you unconditionally supporting in life? Now, why do I say unconditionally? Don't give a gift with the expectation of getting that gift back. That's called a hidden agenda. Who are you willing to advocate for in life unconditionally? Whether you get it back from them or not. And then finally, who are you willing to go to the wire for? Who are you willing to say, that's my friend and I stand with them? Treating them badly is treating me badly. Who is that in your life? And if those people aren't there, let's start praying and affirming to bring them there. So as I close, you may ask the question, but Reverend Jack, what does any of this have to do with this faith philosophy, this way of living that we call the science of mind? Here's why I believe it has everything to do with it. We believe in an audacious notion that we can create a world that works for all. Now, what does that mean? That means everybody's going to be there. That does not mean that a huge swath of people are going to be eliminated. And once they are gone, then all that is left would be the all that we're talking about. That's not it. You know, as Gwen mentioned in her talk earlier this morning in Let's Talk Science of Mind, none of us, no human being on this planet was a flaw. Every human being on this planet was created in the likeness and the image of the divine. They may have forgotten it. They may not act like it. But what we know at the base of it all, we are all a part of that tapestry. We are all a part of that divine calling. And we've got to get there. That's what they teach. But we are right there on the edge. There are faith traditions in this country, that would love to cancel our 501c3, would love to put the locks on our doors. And what I want you to know, that if they'd be willing to do that for anyone else, it's only a matter of time before they would be doing that for us. So we may have to stand in protest, just like that LGBTQ plus community at Indiana State did when they stood in a circle around the bar in Terre Haute, Indiana in 1971 in order for it to be a safe place for people to come together. We may have to do that for the church down the street, because we want to lift up our faith, our philosophy, our way of being without being told we cannot. And so if that's what we want, if that's who we are, then we've got to let somebody else do the same and to create that. That's how we create a world that works for all. So again, I leave you with the simple instructions. Know who your allies are. Know who you are an ally to. Know who your advocates are, and know who you're an advocate to. Know who your co-conspirators are, and choose to be a co-conspirator to someone else. That's what we're called here to do. Thank you. You are loved. You are blessed. And now, as the guest artists and the musicians get in place, I want you to just take in the words that I've said today. Be inspired by what inspires you. Take away what you are called to do. But at the bottom line, know that I see you, I love you, I appreciate you, and I thank God that we have come together at a time like this. See you next time, everyone.
dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you find me, somewhere over the rainbow. Birds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why, oh, why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, I know so can I.
Thank you. Okay. Let's read our prosperity prayer. Oh, let's see. I have two ushers. Two ushers. We have two ushers. Come on up. Come forward, please. And just face the congregation. There you go. Okay. Now we're ready to read the prosperity prayer. Here we go. Today, I expect every good thing to come to me, for I know that divine abundance is forever manifesting itself in my affairs. I am keeping my whole mind and thought and expectation open to new experiences, to happier events, to a more complete self-expression. Everything that belongs to spirit, I accept. Everything that partakes of the nature of divine reality, claim as my own. I identify with success and I prosper in everything I do. As I give thanks for the good now flowing into my life, I gladly share that good with others. The more I give, the more I receive. I experience a deeper consciousness of peace and security, for I know that I am in the embrace of a warm, loving presence. My cup runneth over. I exist in limitless possibility. Thank you. Okay. And if the ushers will go ahead and start collecting. And waiting for the how to donate. And there it is. If you'd like to donate to the Center for Spiritual Living Visalia, you have a couple of ways of doing it. Go to www.cslvisalia.org and click on the donate button. Or you can write a check to CSL Visalia, 117 South Locust, Visalia, 93291. Okay. Okay, just stand beside each other. Okay, we bless these gifts and give thanks for all the good that they will manifest. And so it is. Okay.
All right. I hope that there is a takeaway either in the music, the spoken word, or something that touched your heart today that will let you know that you are seen and that you are appreciated and that you are loved. Just as I hope there is an opportunity for you this week to be the demonstration in loving someone else, being there for someone else, and letting someone else know that you see them and that you support them, because that's what it is that we're called to do. I would be remiss if I did not say we are on the cusp of a time in our world when we must be the demonstration of what peace is, because some others seem to have forgotten what peace is. And so I want us to stand in the assurance as we come together for our final benediction, in which at CSL Visalia we sing, when we profess, let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Letting it begin with me is me being the demonstration that even in the midst of all this, I'm in charge of my mind, I'm in charge of my heart, and I can be the demonstration that peace is possible. And so thank you. Know that you are loved, and let us come together and proclaim that peace on earth is possible, and it begins with me.
Now there's peace on earth, I know begins with me. Now there is peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, united all are we. Now we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me, and this is the moment now. With every breath I take, this is my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each one in peace eternally. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me.